it's here somewhere. There it is. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Vinyl Power. That's right, the podcast where we talk about our love for vinyl records and share it with you. Join us each week as we bring you the latest in vinyl releases, what's in our vinyl collection, and wrap it up with epic vinyl. That's right here, each and every week, with your hosts, the Reverend Jeff Kelly and Kurt Harris. Once again, welcome to Vinyl Power. Well, thanks a lot to Captain Teach and the Shrimp Shack Shooters. That's right. For that, that joke will never get old. Hello, everybody. I'm the Reverend Jeff over here in this not so sunny, cold ass California, and that man over there is Kurt, your friendly neighborhood music man, Harris.
And here I am, March 1st in North Carolina, and it is cloudy. We've had thunderstorms. Hopefully no big thunderstorms will hit while we're in the middle of our show, which is bringing the music, the rock and roll, and everything associated with good vibes to all you out there in music land.
That's right. And let me tell you about releases this week. I had to go and seek out a new place because my release place either just gave up the ghost and didn't care anymore, or just didn't know what the hell they were talking about. So I went out and sought out a new source of consequenceofsound.net. They've got a comprehensive list of what's coming out each week, and there's some good stuff that we would have missed if we would have stuck with our old place. So on Fooey on y'all, and I'm glad we found the new one.
Way to go, Jeff.
Okay, Andrew WK is releasing You're Not Alone. Anna Birch with Quit the Curse. Anna von Hoswolf. No, there's no L at the end of that. Dead Magic. But Annie Lennox with a double release vinyl issue of Diva and Medusa. That's right. I guess these are just releases of everything. I'll have to find a better vinyl. Anyhow, Arjon's releasing Closer to Home, Black Tiger, Sex Machine of New Worlds, The Breeders, All Nerve, Buffalo Tom, Quiet and Peace, Camp Cope, How to Socialize and Make Friends. Sounds like a promising thing to me. Dead Meadow, the nothing they need. Dick Stuso in Heaven. Yes, sir. Dick Stuso.
Okay.
DJ Tay is still tripping. All right. Well, good for you there, DJ Tay. Dry Spell, releasing more. Ed Schrader's Music Beat with Riddles. Let's see if we can get through these a little faster. Gweno with La Cove, Heaven, All Love is Blue. I don't know how to pronounce this. It's spelled ILSA.
Dr. Hofhar.
Corpse Fortress, Iron Reagan and the Gate Creeper, self-titled split 12-inch. And Jackson McIntosh with My Dark Side, Jenny Haval and Havad Volden, Feeling the EP, Joan Baez, isn't she long since dead? Whistle Down the Wind.
Somebody I recognize.
Or she like Keith Harris, like Keith Richards, and Death just keeps skipping over that one. Jonathan Wilson, Rare Birds. I can't pronounce half of these, so we're just gonna skip them. I'm sorry. Lucius with Nudes. I know I saw another one down here that we'll recognize. Oh, look, it's UB40 with A Real Labor of Love.
Oh, that might be good.
Yeah, I'm going to find another place come tomorrow. Come next week. Sorry. I tried. I really did try.
Like a lot of independents, didn't it? I mean, I only recognized a few out of that long list.
There definitely wasn't a mainstream listing there. That is for sure. The old throat got a little long in the tooth. I need to find. I asked for vinyl. It just didn't spit out just vinyls. So maybe that's why there was only the Annie Lennox that was coming out on vinyl this week. Hey, Kurto, buddy, I got to ask you, man. You had an epic week in music. What have you been listening to, my man?
Well, it was an epic week, and mostly the reason that it was epic will be due to my epic album of the day, but it also, of course, sparked me. And as everybody knows, I've said it on this show multiple times. My favorite band is Porcupine Tree. Well, I decided to focus my available time slot here on records on this one record for a specific reason today. And not only is this a great record, it's a double album. As you can see, a nice gatefold. And you can kind of tell a bit by the cover that there's something going on in there. And I'll start with the music itself. The music is amazing. It's actually one of the shorter Porcupine Tree records. It clocks in just over 50 minutes, which is interesting. The music doesn't, of course, when you're playing the albums, obviously it does because you stop and flip the records, but it basically doesn't stop. It kind of plays out in the whole 50 minutes. Before this record, when Steven Wilson was getting ready to record this record, and he was writing the lyrics and laying down the message that he wanted to get. And there's a very important message that goes along with this record. But he had noticed in an interview with Alex Lifeson, the guitarist for the amazing band Rush, and Alex Lifeson had mentioned that he was a big fan of the band Porcupine Tree. So Steven was able to get in touch with him, and he asked him, he said, I'm just in the process of putting out a new record. Would you like to be part of the record? Alex Lifeson said, sure, that would be great. And Steven sent him basically what he wanted him to do. And Alex recorded in his home studio an amazing guitar solo, which is part of the song Anesthetise. And the song Anesthetise, you kind of equate it with like Inagata Vita, because it's basically an 18-minute song. It takes up the whole second side of side 2 of the album. And it's a long solo by Alex Lifeson, and it's a great song and a great part of this record. And like I said, this record basically flows. Being that it's a double album and only 50 minutes, the good thing about this, as opposed to when this record first would have come out, would be that Steven released a few extra songs that actually did not make the cut on this album later, and it was called Nil Recurring. Well, on this particular edition, side 4 has 3 of those Nil Recurring songs, which is Nil Recurring, Normal, and What Happens Now. So on this particular edition, you do get I believe it's only missing 1 song from the Nil Recurring little EP that came out after this with extra tunes. And now, like I said, it's a great record, and I'll go in just a little bit more about musically before the reason that I wanted to focus on this one record in general. And that is this. This record was also released as a 5.1 version, and the 5.1 version was actually up for a Grammy. It didn't win, but it was Grammy nominated. This record it's one of the heavier records by the band Porcupine Tree, and it has garnered quite a bit of awards, basically, and good word of mouth. Now, no Porcupine Tree record has ever charted well. It hit number 59 in the US and 31 in the UK, so nothing great about the charting, and that's in 2007. Porcupine Tree was well established by this time because this is record number 8. Is that right? 8? Or is it 9? 9. This is actually record number 9 in their catalog. So out of their 10 studio albums, this is the next to the last one. So they were well established by then, but still not a band that ever charted all that well. And what I would say would be, if you looked into the different music publications, though, it was very well received, listed as one of the progressive albums that you must hear before you die. Rolling Stone magazine listed as the number 37 best progressive album of all time. It actually won Classic Rock Album of the Year, as did the album before it. And in the Sound and Vision magazine, which is a magazine that actually talks about home theater equipment. They talk about TVs, they talk about speakers, receivers, blah, blah, blah. in that magazine, it was actually listed as album of the year. So a lot of exactly a lot of good word of mouth surrounded the album. And now I want to get into the reason that I'm really wanting to focus specifically on this album. This 2007 record, and if you go on, bring up the lyrics online, read them for yourself, it focuses on what is going to happen. You know, think of the title, right? Fear of a Blank Planet, which of course is a play on the great Public Enemy record, Fear of a Black Planet, which dealt with race issues. This obviously is not dealing with, this is dealing with technology and the fact that parents are working, parents are split apart. There's many great parents out there doing a great job with their children, of course.
I'm so sorry, Coach Klein. College is not for my boy Bobby. Bobby doesn't exactly have the social skills that one might need to be able to go into college. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, it's that kind of thing. I mean, it really is. I mean, these kids are so numb to everything from death to drugs because they've been taking. The ADHD drugs that are out there are literally one molecule off from being methamphetamine. Truth.
Exactly.
Don't look it up.
Exactly.
Look it up.
No, exactly.
I'm not you. I'm just talking about anybody who doubts what I'm saying. Don't ever take anything I say as a fact. Please go look it up for yourself. Because if I believe it, you can guarantee I looked it up.
That's exactly right. And we know that, Reverend Jeff.
Yeah, you were saying.
I appreciate that. No, I appreciate you adding in on that because you're exactly right. And that is what this album about. And this is 2007. So this is 11 years ago. And this album says, you know, you've got children that are 9 and 10 years old. Their brains are still mush, right? They're taking in whatever there is. They're sitting in front of the computer. Many parents, of course, are supervising their kids and are doing best to bring up good kids. And we have got tons of great kids across the world, across the country. But unfortunately, many are not, and they slip through the cracks for whatever reason. And we've seen that very, very recently, how a kid slipped through the cracks, even though so many problems were noticed. And we had an absolutely horrific incident, which has shaken the foundation of our country and caused a lot of people to question a lot of things. And unfortunately, a lot of people want to blame things on inanimate objects and advocacy groups and political reasons. Well, I'll tell you what, that's not what it's about. It's about these kids who are sitting in front of the computer at 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. They're seeing hardcore violence I don't want to see. And I'm a 54-year-old adult. They're seeing hardcore pornography. And by
they're seeing that on the news, by the way.
Right.
We're not even talking about they're going out to the internet to see that stuff. They're watching CNN and seeing it because CNN is the one displaying the shootings and the people getting shot in the street or run over by a car or the police chasing a friggin' car through the neighborhood until the 17 police officers jump on top of the dude and beat him half to death because, you know, he was resisting arrest. But, you know, that's what they see. They see this everywhere now. It's not like it used to be when we were kids where parents kind of shielded your children from that. No, little Johnny, you need to see how rough the world really is. When little Johnny hits 13, then little Johnny can start worrying about how rough the world really is. But before he hits 13, he needs to be playing with Legos and Matchbox cars.
I couldn't agree more. And what we have here is, you know, a situation where not only everything you said, which makes perfect sense, this in no way, and unfortunately in today's political climate, everything gets broken down into us versus them. And that is not what this is about. That is not what the issues that we're really dealing with about. It's not about the Second Amendment. It's not about Trump. It's not about right versus left or Schumer or Pelosi or anybody else. It is about common sense and logical, critical thinking. And that is what we are missing.
It's coming from people who were these kids.
Right.
I was almost one of those kids. I was just barely old enough to say no to it. But the kid, like the kids that were 3, 4 years younger than I was, no, they didn't have a choice because they were 6, 7, 8. Yeah, he's hyperactive. He needs to take this pill. I told my mom I ain't taking that. I don't know what that is, but I'm not taking that. That makes me feel nasty. Why would you want somebody to take that? That's crazy. But, you know, these people now are speaking up who've gotten off of that ADHD garbage and gotten away from all that mind control stuff. And they're speaking out. They're saying, yeah, we saw some crazy crap while we were on that stuff. And you people are to blame. We didn't do that to ourselves. You did it to us.
That's exactly right. The unfortunately, as horrific as we see some of the crimes committed by children these days, at the end of the day, the children are the victims.
Always
We
have been.
can't, right, and we cannot expect them to have the mental capacity, and we don't, because
They
there's a
don't have the
reason.
coping mechanisms. We don't have the coping mechanisms to deal with
That's
it.
right.
Do it.
There's a reason why you join the armed services in your later teens when you're almost in your 20s. There's a reason why you drink liquor when you're 21. There's a reason why there is ages on things. Yes, we drive cars early, but for the most part, we start doling out more responsibilities to children as they get older. And what's happening here is we have a whole group of children that have unfortunately been forgotten. They've slipped through the cracks. They've been raised on these awful drugs, which causes them to stay in some basement or their bedroom behind dark curtains. Their only social output
Drinking Mountain Dew, eating Fruity Pebbles, and cursing about the government.
Right. And they've lost empathy for their fellow human beings.
Well, we've built a whole crap ton of Unabombers is what we've done.
That's what
and now instead of sitting in some cabin trying to figure out how to do damage, they're just sitting in their mom's basement trying to figure out how to do it. So
and repealing amendments, banning certain things, right versus left, none of that is going to solve the issue. In fact, the issue is not going to be solved easily, and we're going to have more terrible things happen. But we've got to pay attention. And when things happen like they did in Florida recently, where this kid slipped through so many cracks, it basically seems impossible when you look at the whole picture how it happened.
You would really think that somebody would have done the right thing at some point in that kid's life.
This kid, in no way are any of us, Jeff or myself, going to have any defense for what he essentially did. But he is also a victim. He is a victim also.
The system didn't cause this, but the system failed.
That's exactly right.
The government didn't set this kid up for disaster. This government tried to keep this kid from having a felony record for the rest of his life because of the boohoo circumstances that he went through in the last couple of years. But sometimes you just got to do the right thing for the person, not
That's
for the
exactly
record.
right.
But anyhow, I digress.
No, you're absolutely wonderful.
We're back to the Porcupine Tree
wonderful,
album, though,
wonderful discussion, and it's where we are about vinyl power. We are about records. We are about the music.
But
that is what we are about. But
yeah.
there is a climate right now, and it just couldn't be ignored. And this album in
we talk about the LSD with the guys and the drugs and the smoking the dope and the crazy sex and all the crap that they did when they were doing all this stuff. We're not hiding the truth of it.
No, we're not hiding the truth.
We're just digging into a little bit more edgier, piece of music that had a message that we can kind of agree with. I mean,
sort of a prophetic message for 11 years ago.
3 decades. And 3 decades of scary kids is what we have.
That's
and new parents are really, really trying not to let their kids fall into these traps.
Yes.
They've got some really weird ideas about autism and vaccines. Please vaccinate your children. That way they're protected from my children. Your unvaccinated children are not a threat to anybody. We're a threat to them.
No, you're exactly
everywhere
right.
They go. Everywhere they go, we're going to be a threat to them. Anyhow, yeah, I mean, I totally get it. It's one of those things that when you write something that prolific that you want to carry a message and understand what it is, and the picture's perfect. That blanked-eyed kid is exactly it. A fear of a blank planet.
Staring into some kind of screen with dead eyes and loss of empathy. And I'll tell you what, there's a video that goes along with the main song. You can watch it on YouTube, Fear of a Blank Planet. And some of the words and the images that go along with the words, which is like, I'm in a band, we wear all black, our music is crap, I've got a gun. It shows a kid with a gun to his head. I mean, this is 2007. And unfortunately, I remember when this came out and I thought, wow, are we really going there? Is technology and the drugs and everything else really pushing our youth there? And 11 years later, unfortunately, way too much of this is true. And like I said,
we've gone way past that now.
We've gone way past it. And unfortunately, like I say, Jeff and I in this show, this show is about having fun. We enjoy it. We want to bring the music to the people. We want to share the music that we enjoy with you. And we know that you have fun with it watching the show. And it's not our purpose to get on here and to either preach or to get overly political. So that's not what we're here to do today. But we are here because the climate does say we can't ignore what's going on. And this album is something that should be brought to the table and should be talked about because it was a prophetic statement of what was to come and even worse. And that's what we're dealing with in the world right now. And it's a great record.
1984 was the greatest prediction book ever written.
Right. Oh, of course. Absolutely.
I mean, here we are. We're right in the middle of 1984 now.
1984, Animal Farm. If you go back and read those now, you probably have your hair standing on end.
Yeah, you're like, how did this guy know all of this? Did he make it happen? Not really, but we can see where it was going then. We can see where it's going now.
Right.
We just have to pray that like our buddy Cole, you know, when he has children, he'll make sure that they don't end up like this guy.
Yes, he will.
You know, and
he's
that's
already informed.
And we have to get past that 3-generation gap of, oh my God, it's going to get really friggin' bad.
Yes, we do.
So I don't know if I'm going to be around for another 30 years, but
well, I know I won't, but I'm here now.
That's right.
And I'm glad to have this.
And we're all scared to death of this blank planet, damn
it. and I would say that I feel I feel very fortunate to have this this moment on this little pulpit to be able to say something that I think has some relevance and some importance. And Jeff definitely offers this to me. We talked about a little beforehand, and he goes, "You do what you're going to do."
Yeah,
and that's exactly what I do, and I appreciate that because, like I said, and I'll reiterate,
if I didn't agree with you, I would still want you to present your case.
Right, exactly, and
that's the beautiful part of it. You know, we don't agree about everything. We agree about most things, but we don't agree about everything. Right. And you know, we don't agree about. We usually just don't really talk about, or we give our opinion and move on.
Or we
rather than try to
understand each other, and we come to either an impasse where we say, well, we're close, but we're both not quite there, and we move on. That we have no problems between us whatsoever because we're not standing on a political pulpit screaming down at the other person.
Yeah,
we are both human beings. We are good friends. We are human beings, and we are equals in the world, and we are free thinkers. And if you are a free thinker and you think logically and critically, you can most certainly agree and disagree with the people you trust and know.
That's right. You'll dig this album. This album is very, very cool.
And so that's what I want to finish it off because, you know, I'm going to have an epic record, of course, and it's not going to be about this, but I want to finish off with the fact that going beyond everything else we just spoke about relevant to today's times, I would just say this is actually a great musical record. There's a reason why there was so much good word of mouth about the record. You can put aside the prophetic lyrics and all that, and if you just listen to the music, this is one of the best records. It's probably my second or third favorite. I like their heavier music. It's this one, In Absentia, and Deadwing, my 3 favorite records by the band Porcupine Tree. And if you haven't listened to this, you should give it a listen, and we really appreciate you spending time with us and allowing us to have our say. So, Jeff, that's what my week boiled down to. It boiled down to listening to Porcupine Tree, and it boiled down to basically considering that record and all that it meant, both lyrically and musically to me. And I appreciate you giving me the platform to be able to speak.
Absolutely. I appreciate I'm glad we had the opportunity to have that discussion in a public forum where other people can leave comment. You don't agree with us, leave comment. Well,
that's fine. Absolutely.
I mean, we have no problem with that. We'll even comment back and respond to you. Speaking of things that we need to comment upon, I'm probably going to murder this name, but Mauricio Ibanez.
There we go.
Released his Off to a Better Place today. So it is out there on oh God.
I want to say that with Mauricio, I believe he does everything in his own studio. I believe it's called the Music Layer. I believe that's right. And at first, It will be out as a digital download, and you'll be able to digitally download, pay for it, download it from many of your popular digital download sites. Maybe I should have
This
asked
one is
him.
on Bandcamp is where
Bandcamp. There we go. I talked to him last night, and I should have asked him exactly.
Well, he's going to come on the show and talk with us.
Yes, he will.
Haven't scheduled it yet.
And I have his first 2 CDs, and I can tell you they are superb. They are excellent music. He has a great feel for music. He knows what he's doing. It's not some garage bandy kind of raw. I mean, this guy is a talented artist, and he knows what he's doing. And I can't wait. I told him last night, I'm not into digital downloads. I admit that.
Right.
But when he does put it out on CD, I will be getting one. So as soon as he finalizes the CDs themselves, and he always puts out a nice booklet, a lot of information, lyrics, whatever. As soon as he puts out the CD, I will be getting one. In fact, I'll probably order. I'll probably get in a couple for a few friends as well, because my friends that have sat here and listened to his music with me also enjoyed it. And so, Jeff, thanks so much for bringing up Mauricio's new album, because he definitely deserves it.
Just released it out today, so I figured I'd let people know it was out there. You know what I brought along with me this week was a bunch of debut albums.
What did you listen to this week, Jeff?
I am a serious studio debut album, not necessarily self-produced debuts. Those are usually pretty crappy. But like this week I brought along Dire Straits.
Love that record.
Dude, this particular record is just it's your first introduction to a sound like no other. I mean, Dire Straits literally has a sound like no other. You can't name a band that they've copied. You can't name a sound that they've copied. It's definitely one of their own.
No doubt.
The British rock band Dire Straits released October 7th, 1978 by Vertigo Records, internationally, and Warner Brothers here in the United States. Produced the hit, of course, The Sultans of Swing. Everybody knows The Sultans of Swing. Reached number 4 on the Billboard Top 100 and number 8 on the UK singles chart. The album reached number 1 in the album charts in Germany, Australia, and France. Number 2 in the United States and number 5 in the United Kingdom. Dire Straits was later certified double platinum. Wow. Yeah. That's just one of those albums that makes you want to sing along when you know the words.
I love every song on that record. I could listen to it over and over. And one other thing, that's probably my mother's favorite record. She loves that one as well.
Nice. Next up, I just got these, by the way. I just got these in from the record shop the other day. Bon Jovi's Bon Jovi.
Oh, the debut. Nice.
Titled debut studio album by the American rock band Bon Jovi. Released January 21, 1984. Produced by Tony Bon Jovi. Not to be mistaken with an actual Bon Jovi. And Lance Quinn. It's significant for being the only Bon Jovi album in which a song, She Don't Know Me, appears and was not written or co-written by a member of the band. The album charted number 43 in the U.S., Billboard Top 200. Aside from the hit song Runaway, songs on the album were rarely performed live after Bon Jovi released Slippery When Wet. That's because Slippery When Wet's such a badass album. However, on the band's 2010 Circle Tour, songs including Roulette, Shot Through the Heart, and Get Ready were performed. Now, I totally expected Shot Through the Heart to be You Give Love a Bad Name, and it's not.
Oh, interesting.
It's absolutely not. Shot Through the Heart is a completely different song that has nothing to do with You Give Love a Bad Name. Because I'm like,
that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known that either. I mean, I like Bon Jovi, but I've never been just like a huge fan of it. This is the first time I've ever actually owned the studio debut of it. It was recorded from 1982 to 1983. And it says right here, the Shot Through the Heart could be confused with the more well-known Do You Give Love a Bad Name from Slippery When Wet. See how that works? Runaway, She Don't Know Me, Burning for Love all hit the singles charts at some point or another. And then another epic find I actually bought 2 of these and didn't know it. I already had it in my collection and didn't put it in the database, and then went back and found it again and bought it again. So yeah, Def Leppard on through the night.
Great record, though.
Oh yeah, the studio debut album of the English rock band Def Leppard, released March 14th, 1980. The album was produced by Tom Allom and it charted number 15 on the UK albums chart. Number 51 on the Billboard Top 200. Rocks Off, Wasted, Hello America, and Rock Brigade were released as singles. However, the versions of Rocks Off, titled Gets Your Rocks Off, and Wasted, that appears on the singles in different recording from that of the LP and its B-side. Hello America and the single Get Your Rocks Off included the songs Ride Into the Sun and Overture. Check that out. Received mostly positive reviews. All Music's Steve Huey noted that On Through the Night established the band as one of the leading lights in the new wave of British heavy metal. And I thought that was kind of an interesting way to put that, new wave of British heavy metal, because I always thought the new wave was like a category of music, but it wasn't. It was a category in every category of music. New wave heavy metal, new wave pop, new wave disco, new wave trash metal. I guess you could look at it that way. All right. One of my other favorite studio debuts is, of course, Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction.
Oh, powerful album, to be sure.
Dude, how can you not? I mean, if you're going to talk about studio debut albums, I've talked about this album before just being one of my favorites, but the studio debut album of Guns N' Roses, released July 21st, 1987 by Geffen Records, to a massive commercial success. It topped the Billboard Top 200 and became the best-selling debut album, as well as the 11th best-selling album in the United States, with about 30 million copies sold worldwide. One of the best-selling records ever, although critics were ambivalent towards the album when it first released. Appetite for Destruction has since received retrospective acclaim and has been viewed as one of the greatest albums of all time.
I did buy that one when it came out. It was a really exciting record when that was first released. I bought it, I'm sure, at least within the first week of its release.
Welcome to the Jungle, It's So Easy, Night Train, Mr. Brownstone, Paradise City, My Michelle, Think About You, Sweet Child of Mine, and Rocket Queen all topped on the singles charts. That's literally like 9 out of the 12 songs that are on the album hit the singles top 100. That's pretty slick. And remember, Guns N' Roses was formed out of LA Guns, and the LA Guns drummer came from who? Came from Wasp.
Oh, that's right, Wasp.
We were talking about that last week.
Yes, we were.
So that, my friends, is what I was talking about this week here, studio debut albums. So that's what I was listening to, my man. So I got to ask you, pal, let's see who's out in that live hangout.
Let's see who's hanging with us.
Who's hanging with us? We got 3 or 4 people that should be out there tonight, as the usual. There's Gien, man. That's right. Nothing can slow him down. Lance Windsor, he's in for swinging his tool, as well as Rod Dupree.
Always.
He's in the place to be. And our guy, Wid 34, how you doing, pal? He's agreeing with us.
Good to see you, Wid 34.
About the crazy dead-eyed children. We should probably make a movie about it.
Exactly. I know I'll see him tomorrow night. He'll come by and probably listen to this record with me.
Yeah, and I know Christopher's probably out there. Christopher, eat your vegetables, man. Broccoli is good for you. Just put some cheese on it. Just put some cheese on it. You'll be okay. Cassie, I hope you're feeling better as well.
No doubt.
That's who's hanging out there in the live hangout with us tonight. And I guess this is the point where I ask you, brother, what did you bring for your epic record this week?
Again, it's what sparked going back into the Porcupine Tree and spending so much time on that one record. It's the fact that I finally have, and I'm going to open it right here because I haven't opened it. I have not yet opened it. Now, of course, I have this on CD. Of course, I have this on the 5.1 version. which I had to get from Japan, even just to have the 5.1 version.
Right.
I had to order it from the far Orient. And but this record was one I never thought I would own. And this record was going for ridiculous numbers on eBay. I think the first time that I looked,
you could have bought a used car for what they were asking for that.
Yeah, you're right. I think the first time I looked it up, it was, I believe it was $350 on eBay. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. Why is it so expensive? And so, you know, even at that price, I thought I would never own this record. And of course, it is the 8th studio album by the British progressive rock band Porcupine Tree. It was released in March of 2005, and it's titled Deadwing. Pretty cool. I think it's got, like I said, I just opened it, and it seems like it's got some different items in here that came with it. The
look at that, we're having an unboxing all at the same time.
Oh yeah, we're going for it today. There's
album unboxing, political statements, and Dire Straits. Why
not? And so as we see, it came with printed, which is pretty cool. And I'll save these, but I actually will take the records out and put them into actual poly lined. But one cool thing was I knew that these were the clear.
Or semi-clear, or at least opaque.
Yeah, semi-clear. I don't think you can quite see me through them, but semi-clear versions.
Wanted to be clear.
This is, I would say overall, this is my favorite Porcupine Tree album. They have 10 studio albums. This is the one I never thought I would own. The last time that I looked on eBay, and I'm sure no one paid this for it, it was absolutely ridiculous. I had seen it up at like $600 or $650 at one point. And then I looked, maybe, I don't know, maybe a year ago, and it was over $1,400. Well, I tell you what, if someone bought that, I feel sorry for them now, because
I can get a minivan for like $900 from the tow shop.
Exactly. Back in, I believe it was November, Stephen Wilson announced on his website that he had purchased the rights to this album because they were held by the studio, and he was going to re-release it. Not only was he going to re-release it though, but he was not satisfied with the actual sound on the original. He thought the album was too loud and lacked some dynamic range. And he's not the biggest fan of remastering. He loves to remix, but he's not the biggest fan of remastering. But he said, you know what? I'm going to remaster it. I am going to give you the dynamic range. Now, of course, I haven't put this album on yet. I was actually saving it for when some specific friends came by to listen to it. I listened to it this week, but I listened to the 5.1 version. So just for all honesty's sake, you saw me open it right here in front of you, and it will be listened to more than likely tomorrow night for the first time. So I'll hear what it sounds like. And I'll just give a quick rundown. It starts with the song Deadwing, the song Shallow, the song Lazarus, which wound up being one of probably the biggest single songs in Porcupine Tree's catalog. It's one everybody loves. Now, the song Shallow is actually featured in a movie, the movie Four Brothers, which has Mark Wahlberg, and I forget the names of the other guys. And there's a scene in a bar, and this is the song that's playing when they're in the bar. So that's cool. It at least made it there. Halo, and then probably one of my all-time favorite songs, Arriving Somewhere But Not Here.
Can't get here from here.
Exactly.
Right. Used to be able to get there from here, but when they tore the barn down, can't get there from here.
The song Melatonin Scratch, Open Car, Start of Something Beautiful, Glass Arm Shattering, So-Called Friend, and Half Light. And this actually, when this album was originally put together, it was actually put together to be the soundtrack for a movie that wound up not being made. I know, right? I know. But it turned into a great record. Like I said, basically my favorite Porcupine Tree record. And I always thought I would be stuck, being that, you know, I mean, like I said, I own the CD, I own the 5.1 version. But I always thought I would be stuck, since I do collect vinyl. That is my passion for collecting, is with vinyl. And I always thought, man, I'm going to always have 9 Porcupine Tree studio records not 10. Ugh. And so you know, it was
like not having the. It's not like it's like not having the Boba Fett with the green laser.
Yes,
you know, damn it, you can only find the ones with the red laser. I want the one with the green laser. Damn it, it was a mistake. I gotta have it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And so when this arrived, and it arrived here, thankfully. When this arrived on Monday from
was it
Burning
bit in half and put in the mailbox?
No, my gosh, thankfully not. Thankfully they left this one on the porch. But yeah, when this one arrived Monday, I thought, you know, finally I actually own all 10, and I imagine this is going to sound good when I listen to it. And like I said, it'll probably be tomorrow night when WID 34 comes by, and we'll probably throw this on and give it a spin. But yeah, overall, a great record. If you like Porcupine Tree went through phases. There was the early phase, which is almost exclusively Steven Wilson, since the first 2 records are Steven by himself, actually, before it was actually a band. And it was very psychedelic. So there was the very psychedelic phase. Some people, that's their favorite phase of the band. After that, there was a more pop-oriented phase, which is still a wonderful phase when they first got together in a band. Then after that, it was the more progressive metal phase, which this is right in the middle of, with In Absentia, Deadwing, Fear of a Blank Planet, and the final record, The Incident. So I just want to say I could not be happier to finally own this record. It's something I didn't think was going to happen, and it happened. So all thanks to Steven for getting the rights to this and making it possible for fans to own the entire catalog. And as I always say, this of course it's like a progressive metal record, and you know how it is with progressive. It's definitely a niche genre. It's not for everybody. I totally understand that. But do yourself a favor, throw it on YouTube or something. I'm sure you can listen to the whole album on there sometime, and just give it a listen, see what you think. And you may find something that you've never heard before that you would really enjoy listening to. So that was my epic record for this week. And I have to ask you, Jeff, because I think I have a good idea that your epic record is pretty darn epic. Yeah. So I have to ask you, what epic record do you bring into the table on March 1st, Vinyl Power?
That's right. The first of the year of the Leprechaun. That's right. The month of the Leprechaun. Yeah, I finally got me a first-hand copy of Bruce Springsteen's Greetings from Asbury Park in New Jersey. Now, the last time I talked about Bruce Springsteen on the show, I had just gotten my hands on a copy of Nebraska, and I had never heard the album Nebraska before, and that was his demo tapes recorded on a 4-track cassette player at his second home. Bullshit. Sorry. This, however, is his debut studio album. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about, you know, specifically in studio debut albums, is you get the artist as they wanted to be, not as their recording house got them to be. Most of the songs that you find on these studio debut albums were written by the band. They're the absolute favorite pieces they've ever played anywhere ever. You know, these are the pieces that they've played in a billion clubs, a billion garages. You know, this is the reel-to-reel tape that he carried around with him to friends' houses. Go, hey man, you want to listen to my demo? You know, just so people could hear what they would play. And it really gave you a feel for what the musicians wanted, more so than be more like a bloody Beatles. Do you know how bloody rich the blatant Beatles are? Be more like a bloody Beatles, because your recording houses just want you to put albums out because that's where they make their money. And it was, like I said, we've been through it. I saw it all happen in the 70s and the 80s, and it all fall apart in the 90s. You know, and here we are in the early 2000s, and musicians are just like, yeah, I don't need you. I just record it in my basement and release it. My fans will buy it. And that's exactly really what it's come down to, is just like we talked about tonight with Steven and with Mauricio.
Mauricio Ibanez.
Yeah, you know, these guys are guys who can produce their own music. record their own music and release their own music just for the love of the music, and it doesn't die. Where back then, like Johnny Cash will tell you, you had to be somebody. Because if you really weren't somebody, nobody wanted to listen to you. You know, they told that boy they didn't want to listen to any more gospel. He's like, we can get on the church list of gospel. If you could sing one song for God himself, what would it be? Well, that's how they got found. Nowadays, anybody farting on a snare drum can get some auto-tune in and be a rapper. Woo! Anyhow.
All too true.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was listening to. You know, that it was a studio when I got, like I said, I got all these from the shop this week, so it was pretty epic. And we threw a bunch of other studio stuff in there, and you know, we were just kind of chilling and listening to that stuff. But well, there it is. There's that sad going away music. Must mean it is time. It's been way over time. It's been a long edition of the Vinyl Power, but hey, it needs to be sometimes. Mr. Kurt, sir, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much.
This is not by Captain Keach. Yeah, this is not by Captain Keach and the Shrimp Shack Shooters. Oh, it's been a fun show, even though we got a little serious on you. I know sometimes, every once in a while, you got to take life a little bit serious. But we'll be back next week with more fun stuff. One never knows what we're going to pick out of the box. That I almost didn't. I'm glad I didn't finish that sentence, because that would have been very, very good. Sometimes you got to think about what you say before it goes over the air. Because when you're picking it out of the box and putting it on the air. See you next week at Vinyl Power Podcast on Facebook. Oh, crap. No, see, last night I pushed the stupid stop button. Tonight I didn't. I did push the stop button, but it didn't.